and players mobbing.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Three NBA podcast. Sherrod Blakely, myself, Kwani, Lunis, Gary Washburn, here together once again. But before we get started, I want to remind you all that you are listening to the Big Three NBA podcast, part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you can find our podcast past, present, and of course future, in addition to a ton of other Celtics content, such as the Garden Report, which usually goes live immediately after every Celtics game, win or lose, home or away. So if you're into everything related to the Boston Celtics, that's happening with the team, you definitely want to make sure you're tapped in to the CLNS Media Network, where we have you covered. Okay, let's just get right into it. We'll start with the Celtics. We've been talking already about the potentials for trades and a lot of movement in this offseason. And one person that's at the center of that conversation is Jrue Holiday. There's a report in the New York Post saying that the Clippers are interested, but Law Murray of The Athletic told our CLNS's Bobby Manning that LA's interest might be a bit overstated. So overall, how would you all characterize Boston's motivation to move Jrue Holiday? And does LA seem like a possibility for real?
A couple things. First of all, shout out to Law Murray, my dude. He
friend of the show.
Friend of the show, has a style about him that is all his, and I respect the heck out of it. I love Law, my guy. As far as Jrue Holiday is concerned, the Celtics really, when you start breaking down their roster, they definitely have to do something to shake things up. I think that's an absolute given at this point. Jrue is one of the few assets that they have that can get them a fairly decent return if they move him. One, because of his contract, but also because of his impact. I don't think it's just a coincidence that Jrue has won a title in Milwaukee. He's won a title in Boston. He's been on the Olympic team. And in all those different spaces and places he's been an impact player without necessarily being the front and center face of the franchise type guy. He's just a glue guy. And if you're a team that feels you are a elite wing defender or backcourt playmaker away from winning a championship or positioning yourself best to compete for one, Drew's a guy that you would absolutely give some thought to figuring out how you could add him to the mix. But as far as the Clippers are concerned, I gotta agree with my guy Law. I just don't think that would be a good fit in terms of personnel, because I just don't think the Clippers, frankly, have the kind of assets or an asset that I think the Celtics would want to return. And I'm thinking specifically about Gary's boy James Harden and how I don't know if that particular marriage would work, and there's no way that the Clippers would even give any thought to moving Harden at this point. So that being said, I'm not sure there's a lot of traction other than that this is just part of the smoke that we see this time of year when it comes to potential trade pieces and players on the move.
I don't think the Clippers are a great match and a great fit because the Clippers would have to they'd have to really trade some pieces probably that will help them. The Clippers are trying to go for a championship. The Clippers are trying. You're talking about the last years of Harden. Kawhi this summer is going to be 34. So obviously he's getting up there.
You going to be 34, Gary?
34.
Damn.
Yeah, Kwani Leonard is only 34 years old.
So young and yet so old.
Yes, but he's 34, and you got Norman Powell, who's not as young anymore. Like they're a team that's built to win right now, and so you're going to have to give up some younger pieces. Now, will Jrue fit into that equation? Yes, but do the Clippers have enough to give to the Celtics? Young, cheap talent. Will it fit their cap? I don't think so. I think the Dallas Mavericks is probably a better team to look at because they can give up a guy like Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington, because the Celtics, if they're going to move Jrue, want to take less salary back. You want to move $34 million and take back about 20, okay? And you could take back multiple players for Jrue. So you could take back two $10 million guys and then Therefore that team has the cap space to accept 15 or 16 something $million more on their cap if you take on a contract like Jrue Holiday. That's the thing about these trades. One, the Celtics cannot aggregate any players in a deal. They can't throw in somebody to sweeten a deal. It's going to be one for maybe two, one for three, but they can only send out one player. That's the limit to the second apron. And secondly, you've got to trade with a team that has enough salary cap space to take on such a deal, take on a $34 million a year player.
Or like the Brooklyn Nets, for example.
Yeah, who might have a player that they're not going to like, a team option that they're going to, reject or something like that, so they can lower the cap to be able to take in a guy like Jrue Holiday. So it's going to be tricky. Now, I think they would probably rather trade Porzingis, but Porzingis could be a trade deadline situation because he's in the final year of his deal. It's an expiring contract that might be attractive come February. But for Holiday, I would look at a team like the Dallas Mavericks, but we don't know what's going to happen with Dallas and their coach. We know Jason Kidd is potentially interested in the New York Knicks position. How is that going to go? Does Nico Harrison want to make another trade after the Luka thing? I mean, he they ain't worked out so well so far. So there's a lot of variables, and I tell folks, watch out for the draft. All the moves that are going to be made before the draft. Remember, Dallas has a number 1 overall pick. They're going to get Cooper Flagg, so they're going to get Anthony Davis, Kyrie coming back off the knee injury, Cooper Flagg. And so where they're going to play PJ Washington because Cooper's like a 3-4. So PJ Washington becomes expendable. And then you've got Lively coming back along with Anthony Davis. So that makes Gafford expendable. So that might be the best fit because obviously Dallas is a team that's trying to win right now. Also, when you got Anthony Davis, when you got Kyrie, who's 33 years old now, coming off an ACL tear. So that's a team I would look out for. The Clippers, if you look at their salary, I don't think that's a great fit. I think Dallas would be the better fit.
You mentioned Porzingis. How would you say the two of them compare as far as who the Celtics should more immediately move on from?
You got Gary.
I think they'd rather move Porzingis because Jrue just still has value, but it also depends on value you're going to get in return. What are you going to get back for Porzingis? Are you going to get back some second-round picks? Do you want to give him away like that? What is it that you're going to have to do to move on and have a team take on a $30 million salary, right? Are you going to take back a $10 million salary? That would be the optimal thing. Hey, we'll give you our mid-level guy at $12 million. We'll take Porzingis off your hands. But a team might say, well, if we're going to do that for you, Boston, we ain't doing you no favors. We need a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. What's up? We'll get done what you need to get. You don't think other teams know the Celtics need to get on the apron? So the Celtics are not a great negotiating spot right now. So teams are going to be like, yeah, we'll take Kristaps. We'll give you our mid-level guy. He's a little younger, can help you next year, but we need that 2027 first rounder. So, and remember, if the Celtics are going to struggle a bit next year, their 2026 first rounder becomes more valuable because they're probably not going to be as good. It might be an 18th, 19th pick. It might be a pick in the middle of the first round. That's a more valuable pick than 28, which is what they have this year. So that 2026 first round pick becomes valuable to teams who know the Celtics are going to take a step back. So to me, the Porzingis thing would be more optimal for them, but it might be more difficult because they might have to give up something in terms of a 1-for-1 deal and then a draft pick. Because remember, they can't give another player to sweeten the deal. If a player, if they want Porzingis, they can't. It's all another team can take is Porzingis. They can't say give us J.D. Davidson or give us, we like Kata. Give us him too. No, it's going to be one for whatever. Yeah. So to me, Porzingis is the most optimal for them, but it might be the more difficult because he has less trade value.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see a scenario where anyone is going to take Porzingis and not expect/demand a draft pick or picks in return. I just don't see it. If we're talking about Kristaps Porzingis at the end of not this past season, but the previous season when they won a title, that's a different story. If you're looking to move him then, but the Porzingis that folks have now, because again, people, we find ourselves just hostage to the moment, and the moment that we remember most about Kristaps Porzingis is what we just saw in the playoffs, and that was not pretty at all. And so you're not going to be willing to either give a whole lot or take less back than you normally would because of, again, where he's at. So you're going to ask for more than you probably should. The one GM I just can't see them even having any conversation with is Danny Ainge, because Danny going to ask for like 5 picks. Which I respect the hell out of Danny for that, because Danny, that's just how he operates, and again, he's consistent with that. So it's going to be difficult for them to move Porzingis anytime before the trade deadline. As far as Jrue Holiday is concerned, I would probably look to move Jrue sooner rather than later, only because I just don't think the market is going to get all that much ripe for him. I think what you do is you find a deal that makes sense to you, that doesn't significantly impact you going forward, i.e. doesn't involve draft picks, and you just go with that. Get you a decent player in return or players in return, and then just keep it moving. Because Jrue, to me, is the one piece that you have that can get you significant value in return and allow you to just not have that gap between where you have been the last couple of years and where you're going to be next year to be as wide as possible. You want to minimize that space as much as possible if you're the Boston Celtics, because, again, you've had a great run here where you've been among the top teams in the NBA for a few years now, and your window isn't necessarily closed, because if we're being honest and transparent, the West is loading up with ballers. I mean, they've got the last 2 top picks. They've got clearly a much deeper, much more difficult road to navigate if you're going to come out the West. And so the Celtics, even though they may be taking a step back, it's not like they're going to fall off the map. They're still going to be one of those teams that, under certain circumstances, they could be right in the mix of being one of those top 3, top 4 teams in the East. They probably shouldn't be that way, but again, I think the East is going to be that wide open where they're going to have that opportunity. And one of the challenges that Brad Stevens is going to have is figuring out which pieces to add, which pieces to subtract, and figure out how to bring it all together and keep this team competitive until Tatum gets back, end of this season or the start of next year.
So we mentioned the upcoming NBA draft. We'll get into that in just a second. But before we do, I know I sound like a broken record. For those of you that are listening to the show, we want to ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the Celtics All Access YouTube channel, which is where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content that, of course, you can share with your friends as well. Also, make sure you're turning on those notifications so that you know the instant a new video drops.
Kwani, okay. Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
Can you explain to some of our viewers what a broken record is? Sound like a broken record? Like,
lovely.
Wow.
Because they don't know what a record is, and then
Gary.
Record players are back. Chill. I have a record player.
Gary.
Okay.
So a record player is what you use to play vinyl on, and if it's broken or the vinyl is scratched, it will play the same
repeatedly. Thank you.
Which is what I'm doing. Repeating that people should subscribe.
Thank you. I just want to give you what a broken record is.
I feel like you're trying to put me on the spot too, though. But
Kwani, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm thinking damn, Kwani's birthday was like a couple months ago, Gary. Why
I'm just saying, because that's a term that I was talking with somebody else, and people said sound like a broken record, and people are like, I'm sure people are like, what are you talking about, a broken record? What does that sound like? What is a broken? They don't know.
That's fair.
Wow.
Well, I'm just saying.
It repeats.
If you said broken, if you said skip CD or something, people might have a little bit more. But you don't.
Glitch.
Yeah, people exactly. A computer. computer
Vinyl is making
glitch.
a comeback though, so I feel like
Some people are collecting vinyl and they got vinyl stores. I get it.
No,
I'm just saying, can you explain to some of our listeners, maybe under 25, born in this century, what the hell a broken record is? That's all.
Well done. I mean, honestly, that
I'm trying to help the youngsters. I'm all about the kid. I'm all about the young people.
I thought he was coming at
young people.
No, I thought it was good, but I think this is good. It resonates. I learned something new, and that was well done. So thank you.
Gary, are you going to explain to them about the vinyl records have different speed and RPMs that they operate, 33 and 78?
45 and 45s. Yep.
Those as well are very important knowledge.
Yep. 45 was a single. So if you wanted to get the hottest single and just that song, you get a 45. So it's a smaller record. It's 45. 78's the big one. And you
35 is the standard?
Huh?
Is 35 the standard then?
No, 78's the standard.
78's the standard. Okay.
45 was a little ones like this that had one song on it. And then you used to have to get a little adapter you put in the middle. And
so that the rest of it can spin.
Yeah, so it can spin. So it locked in. So yeah.
See,
so,
I did
sometimes when it was skipping, it's not the record is bad. It's just you got some dust on your needle.
Yeah, you need a new needle. Yeah. You have to go sometimes buy another needle.
See, this is stuff I need to learn about for the one I have now. So
that's why when you was a kid and you would have to. Now they have the electric thing that the arm comes down on its own.
When we was kids, you still have to manually play.
Yeah, when we was kids, your mama would boy go over there and play that record, and you better not drop it too fast because you might scratch it. Because you scratched the record. I mean, there wasn't too many things worse that you could do to scratch your daddy's records.
Of course,
that was some discipline. That was child protective services.
Maybe it's just me.
What you say?
I feel that was a Gary testimonial that you know what, back in my
that was child protective services right there.
No, absolutely.
Did you scratch my Teddy Pendergrass?
Officer, it was my favorite one. But it's so weird that vintage now means the era that I grew up in, because even when I asked my family for a record player like a few Christmases ago, my mom was like, we literally just got rid of the one we had that had it like my entire childhood. So she's like, I have to go out and buy something that existed in this.
Damn it, Kwani! Why? It's your fault. It's your fault.
No, it definitely is. But we are where we are now.
Your mom had to pay for a new record player for you.
And that would have been considered.
She could have gave you Granny's one.
Exactly.
That would work still is working good.
Exactly.
You know what? My mom it still works. We got a floor model that's like
wow.
Fired. Yeah, tell her that'll be worth a lot of money if she does want to.
That's why I ain't going nowhere.
Don't let it go anywhere. All right, let's get into the NBA draft next week. Whether you believe it or not, the Celtics have, like you said, the 28th pick and the 32nd pick. We know what they need overall, but from your perspectives, who should they be targeting? What should they be targeting position-wise for this upcoming draft with those specific picks too?
For the Celtics, I mean, a lot's going to depend on what they do, what they're looking to do trade for, obviously, but the draft is before that. I think they need to just get better wing players. When I think about Jordan Walsh and I think about Torrey Craig, who's sort of but not really a wing, it feels as though they need to replenish that wing position with somebody who can create their own shot. I'm looking at OKC, and one of the things that makes them so dynamic is that they've got a number of guys who will play every now and then, but when they do play, they have the ability to score, create their own offense, and do a lot of the things, and play off of others as well. And I think the Celtics, ideally, if you can find someone who has that particular skill, and obviously there are going to be some flaws in the games. Like it could be someone who's not a very good defender or a little bit undersized, but someone who can I think create their own shot and give them a little bit of jolt offensively that's not relying on a damn 3-point shot all day long. I think that's what they could probably benefit from.
Yeah, I think they need to get, like Sherrod said, unfortunately, you caught me on a bad day. I agree with Sherrod on this one. It's a bad day.
Just because you probably broke your mama record player this morning.
It's a bad day. Anyway, I do think they need to get younger. They obviously with a good young player, And it might be a player who has potential, but I think you got to get a player with some more experience. I think what they're learning from the Jordan Walsh situation is we still don't know whether he's going to be an impact player. And now he's just finishing his second season. And what you do, and I understand the pick. I understand drafting Jordan Walsh. He played 1 year in college. He was barely 19 years old, potential, could maybe flourish into a really good impact player, but it's been 2 years and you still really don't know whether he's going to be that guy, right? We'll see if he plays in Summer League this year. We'll see what they have for him. He has 2 more years left of his contract, but do you want to bring in Jordan Walsh Jr.? And what I mean by that is a one and done who could be something, or do you want to bring in a guy who will develop into a solid, or do you want to bring in another kind of Baylor Shireman, a guy who's 23, 24, a guy who showed potential in his rookie year, a guy who's going to show you have something in his first 2 or 3 years? I don't know if you need another guy who's going to take 3, like you did that with J.D. Davidson and you've done that with Jordan Walsh. Both of those guys were one and dones, barely 19 years old. So if you go that route at 28, or you don't trade up and you happen to take 28, you're going to get that. If you want to get that guy, you're going to have to give him a couple of years. To me, you get a veteran player who can help you, who knows how to hoop and knows right. It's not a developmental guy, a guy who might spend some time next year in Maine, but can help you in the second half of the season. Like, that's what I think the Celtics need, an athletic, a guy who you could see the potential in him. Mm-hmm. The perfect guy, not this year, but like a Derek White type. Remember, Derek was late first-round pick coming out of Colorado, a guy who was experienced. He had played 4 years in college, so this was not he wasn't 20 or 18 and a half. He was literally 22, and he came in, and that's what you're going to need. I just think the Celtics have to get younger, and they've got to get guys who can make immediate impact. I think they've done the whole, well, let's take a look at this guy, and we're going to give him a couple years to develop. Like, it hasn't worked so far with Walsh. We'll see about Davison. And to me, and remember, Jaden Springer was supposed to be a guy that they could, and they moved him. They moved him, and he's since been traded he got waived after the Celtics traded him. So get a guy who can come in and who can help right away. Who's good at, like Sherrod said, good offensively, good defense, good at something. Like, you can do something. Like, you can D up, but you can't shoot yet, or you can shoot, but you can't D up yet. Like somebody, a guy with an NBA skill. And I think that's what they need at 28. And then at 32, then you may be able to take a chance on a guy in the second round. You get a guy who slipped some, and then you can come in with 2 quality players in camp who might be able to make the team and make an impact.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're trying to definitely bolster your roster so that you can get back to where you've been the last couple of years, which is one of the last teams standing. And that ultimately is what the Celtics team is about now. Once you get a taste of that championship, wine, you want to keep drinking from that. And the Celtics, they know that they've got to add some talent on the back end in order to get back there. Before we go any further, I wanted to just give a quick shout out to our good friends at Prize Picks, where you can cash in on the basketball playoffs right now. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. And this week, heading into Game 3, you get a free square bonus with Oklahoma City All-Star Jalen Williams needing to score just 1 point. That's right, 1 point more than me, Gary, and Kwani combined to get cash in on that pick. And remember, on Prize Picks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite baseball players with folks from obviously the basketball world, hockey, esports, and much, much more. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And how do you get in on this? It's real simple. You just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
All right, before we wrap up, we have to talk, of course, about the NBA Finals. Right now, the Pacers, I don't understand how this, I don't know where this is going to go, but the Pacers and Thunder tied 1-1 at this point in the series. What are your thoughts after we've hit 2 games?
Well, first of all, shout out to my coach, my guy.
Say this every single episode. Oh my gosh!
I gotta start with Rick. That's my guy. That's my guy.
That's your guy. That's his guy.
He's got them playing great basketball. But I think the further we get into this series, the more reality is going to set in. Oklahoma City's just better. Mm-hmm. They've got more talent. They're deeper. Their best player is consistently the best player or second best player in the series. Mm-hmm. Shea gets to anywhere and everywhere he wants to, no matter who's guarding him, no matter how they want to get the ball out of his hands. It's just not happening. I think Indiana will continue to make adjustments and give themselves a chance to be competitive. But, for them, I think at this point, if they can split at home, I think they should feel good about that. I don't think they're going to win both of these next 2 games in Indianapolis. For Game 3, I think Oklahoma City is going to win this one. And then I think Indiana is going to bounce back with their backs against the wall and take Game 4 to keep the series alive, keep it interesting. But, again, I love the job that Indiana is doing. I love the way Rick Carlisle is getting the most out of this team, because this team, you start stacking their roster up against the top teams in the East, the top teams in the West, they're not going to be in the damn finals if you do that. But they're finding ways to do that. Guys are stepping up when they need to step up. And obviously Halliburton has a lot to do with that. Miles Turner, who is doing what you're supposed to do in a contract year, ball out, has played really well. Pascal has been the ideal number 2 guy who sometimes can be your number 1 when you need him. And they got arguably the best closer in the NBA in the playoffs in Halliburton. So they've got pieces that have given them a chance to be competitive and have a chance to win. But I just think, again, the further we get into this thing, the more reality is going to set in, and that is Oklahoma City Thunder are the better team.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Sherrod, that the Pacers' best chance is to get Game 3. What I mean by that is you're coming home, raucous crowd, all the momentum's going to be, they're going to be rooting every moment of every, from 2 hours before the game all the way to the buzzer. It's your time, and you've got to put Oklahoma City on their heels. Like, if you look at the Denver series, Oklahoma City struggled against the Nuggets, and they struggled on the road. Like, they haven't, they've had their share of kind of, ups and downs a little bit, right? They took care of Memphis pretty easily, but then Denver, I mean, they handled their business there. But that was a 7-game series. So if you're the Pacers, the opportunity is there to sneak Game 3. All you want to do is extend the series, and that's what you have to do. I don't think the Pacers, we all know, like you said, Sherrod, the Pacers aren't going to win 3 consecutive games and win 5. They're going to have to extend this series as long as possible, try to get that thing to a deciding Game 7 where all the bets are off and all the money's on the table, 1 game to try to take it. Like, that's what if you're the Pacers, just keep it trying to extend the series. Mm-hmm. Keep putting the pressure back on Oklahoma City. And so that's what I tend to think that they can do. They've got to get more out of Halliburton. He's got to get going earlier. They got to get some defensive stops, and they got to keep putting SGA on the free throw line. And they can't let Aaron Wiggins hit 5 threes. Like, he should be on the scouting report. The dude can shoot, right? And that's the thing about what makes Oklahoma City so dangerous is basically having that, 7th or 8th guy can come off the bench and hit 5 threes, score 20 points, or pull down 10 rebounds. The other Jalen Williams or Lou Dort, or guys who quite honestly, are not household names could come off the bench and make big plays. So if you're the Thunder, the series is back to your advantage, you would think, because they played so well in game 2. But if you're the Pacers, you got a shot here to put them back in their heels. And that game 3 is a bigger game, in my opinion, for Indiana than Oklahoma City.
Yeah. And just real quick, Kwani, before we go, I mean, that to me, Gary, your point is why Oklahoma City is such a favorite, because once you get past SGA and Jalen Williams and Chet, they still got 4 or 5 other guys that can get them 25 on any given night. And the thing that makes them different from, let's say, the Boston Celtics is that the Celtics have maybe 1 or 2 guys that can do that. They got like 4 or 5 outside of their big 3 who can go out there and have big games. And there's no rhyme or reason as to why those guys might be hitting one night and not the next. And that's the scary part about playing a team like this. They figure out what they morph into whatever they need to morph into to get the job done on that night. The other night it was Wiggins, and you could tell Wiggins was going to have a big game because the dude had like 10 points in like 7 minutes. So you could tell he was having one of those nights. Caruso had a big game the other night, a big game 1 as well. And you start looking at just the way that they have gone about building their road towards a championship. It's one that, yeah, Shea, he's leading the way, but man, you got a lot of hands helping out when it matters most for this team to be where they're at. And that's why, again, I love what my boy Ricky doing with the Pacers, but man, OKC they just too deep.
Yeah, well, there's still so much more left to see, and obviously it's still anyone's game. But before we get out of here, for those of you that are listening to the show, we want to ask you to subscribe, like, leave a review, share with a friend. And for those watching the show on CLNS, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content. And one more thing, please make sure to turn on those notifications so that you know when new episodes like this one are dropping. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. This is the Big 3 NBA Podcast.